So obviously Lil Yachty is one of the most popular but most beloved rappers from the last SoundCloud era and is still kicking to this day. But I think there was actually a period of time where a lot of people were iffy on if he was still making good music or not. And so because of this, I think he's actually revived his career more recently, almost kind of splitting his success in two. And that obviously he came in the game with this more bubblegum rap era, simple flows and melodies on more childish nursery rhyme type beats. He had massive hits in 2016 like Broccoli, Minnesota, One Night, even being in Sprite commercials. But after a couple years, that hype kind of ran out up until 2022 with one song and one album where he's really caught his stride again. But a little more on that later, because we need to start from the beginning again in 2016, becoming one of the most recognizable SoundCloud rappers in the quote mumble rap era, alongside Uzi, Cardi, X, Juice WRLD, Trippy, Lil Pump, etc. And while yes, he had mainstream hits that were on Billboard, I really don't think this was the peak of his career in terms of quality of music. I didn't really like these songs. They sounded very rough in a way. The auto-tune was obviously very robotic, and it was purposely like that, but I don't even think Yachty liked making that music after a while. It just is what blew up. And so in the next couple years, he released his peak projects, if you ask me, Lil Bow 2 and Nothing to Prove, that featured a lot of his friends that were in this SoundCloud era, like 66 with Trippy Red, NBA Young Boat featuring Young Boy, Boom featuring Ugly God, and my personal favorite, Get Trip featuring Playboy Cardi, and then finally Yacht Club featuring Juice WRLD. And due to the just overall great music, Lil Bow 2 ended up selling 64K, which is still his highest selling project ever in his career, and then Nothing to Prove sold 40K, which technically was a downgrade from Lil Bow 2, but also Teenage Emotions, which followed up all of the mainstream hits that we discussed earlier. The next project, Lil Bow 3, is where I think he lost a little bit of his sauce. Not in terms of the music, because this is actually one of my favorite projects from Yachty, but just an overall media coverage, in that Lil Bow 3 incorporated more heavier trap elements and a lot less melodic rapping. He lost this unique bubblegum rap sound that he had the reputation for in the first place, and because of this, I think that's why he ended up selling 30,000 copies first week, which was his worst performance in his career thus far. And the reason that I think he leaned into more heavier trap music was because he was trying to prove that he wasn't just a bubblegum rapper or even a mumble rapper. He was trying to prove to all the old heads like Ebro and other media personalities that he actually had bars. But while making more similar music to other rappers in the game, you obviously become less unique. And because the rap genre is so saturated, you just stand out less, where he was really the only person in his lane before with this bubblegum rap. But I guess he didn't care about the numbers, because he took it one step further, in that after Lil Bow 3.5, which was like a pseudo deluxe to Lil Bow 3, he took a liking to these like offbeat, more lyrical punchline based rap rather than all the catchy hooks that he was known for previously, and started dropping music videos and even working with a lot of Detroit or Flint rappers, even dropping a project called Michigan Boy Boat featuring the likes of Babyface Ray, Sada Baby, Rio the Young OG, and other big rappers in that scene. However, this pocket of Flint style rapping is still a rather niche type subgenre. Because of this, the album performed pretty poorly, at least when you compare it to his previous projects, only selling 16K first week. But that was probably expected, because he was just trying to put on mainstream rap listeners that he had in his audience with how big he used to be, or still was, onto a more niche genre that he messes with. So that's definitely commendable in his respect. And while a lot of rap enthusiasts appreciated what he was trying to do, I feel like this just continued his gradual falling out of relevance, and that obviously less people were tuning in to the new music he was releasing. The music video views were going down. There were less streams on the last couple of projects. But it looks like Lil Yachty had a trick up his sleeve that he didn't even realize that he had, because about 1 year later in 2022, all of a sudden on Twitter, fans were notified of this leak called Poland. It was an unfinished track. Yachty hadn't even recorded the second verse on it, but because of this like extreme vibrato in his voice, you know, where it shakes the entire room like a opera singer in colonial times, people fell in love with the song and it went viral. Not to mention it had a filthy beat and it was on trend, probably categorized under like a rage beat. But as I said before, Yachty wasn't even planning on releasing this track. It was probably considered a throwaway in his eyes just because of how weird it sounded, but it did work. But I guess this time the fans did the work for him. For the next day or two later, he ended up dropping the song on SoundCloud and then all platforms, even accompanied by a Lyrical Lemonade music video. The song became a massive success without even having to lift a finger. And so I think this is like the turning point in Yachty's career, at least for the second half of it, and that he probably had this epiphany that maybe now he doesn't need to even prove that he has bars anymore. He just needs to make hits. And I think now, after Poland, he actually has the ability that not a lot of other rappers have of being able to actually make experimental music and the fans allowing it. Because as we've seen with like Trippie Redd or even Uzi, there's a lot of mixed opinions with new forms of music, like Uzi's heavy metal on Pink Tape, or Trippie Redd's true love songs on his last album, A Love Letter to You 5, where these songs end up performing a lot worse because that type of music isn't necessarily the reason that they became fans of that artist. And so less than a year later, he ends up releasing Let's Start Here, which was marketed as a psychedelic rock 80s type album. It was largely acclaimed by the hip hop community, all while not even being a hip hop album. And while it only sold 36,000 copies first week, that was definitely a step in the right direction, in that it ended up selling even better than Lil Bow 3, which was all trap, and obviously much better than Michigan Boy Bow. But maybe that album and the whole Flint Flow era that Lil Yachty had was just foreshadowing to the fact that maybe he didn't even care about numbers all along. He was just getting bored with the whole trap genre and wanted to try new types of music. Because I believe he said that he had been working on this psychedelic rock album for the last 3 years, but just never released it. Until now, obviously. But all in all, I feel like Lil Yachty's career has been completely revived or even invigorated, in that there was a dead period around 2018 or even Lil Bow 3 that people were tuning in just because they loved Yachty from before. However, now it's kind of like he's a new artist. You can never really expect what he's going to make next, which is a great position to be in. Because as I said before, he's one of the only artists now that has the permission to make any sort of genre music, and his fans will eat it up, or at least give it a try. But with all that being said, it has been your boy Bobbalam signing off, starting my second career as a gynecologist. My new favorite food is now beef curtains. Let me know in the comments what you think about Lil Yachty's career. Do you think he has a new resurgence ever since Poland, or do you think I was just chatting and he was relevant the entire time? Make sure to like, subscribe to the Bob Gang if you witty. Peace out, copy. Nothing.